Chapter 13. The Academy. You're my best friend Naruto. What do you think friends do for each other? Kakashi meet with an instructor from the school to get him enrolled. After spending a few minutes with him, he knew that the man was another one of those people, those haters. First, he offered to show him the difference between a Jonin and a Chunin. Then he was even nice enough to show the man his signature jutsu, the Chidori. In the end, he had absolutely no qualms in making a few thinly veiled threats. Naruto was admitted to the academy much to Kakashi's satisfaction. When the first day of school finally came around, the little chibi was so very excited. He was downstairs in the living room, showered, dressed, and waiting with his small backpack. When Kakashi came downstairs, he had to remind the boy that school did not start for another 2 hours and they had to go do their morning workout yet. After training, eating breakfast, and packing a lunch for the boy, he quizzed him on school subjects until it was time to leave. Hiba was just walking out of his clan compound at the same time and joined him and Kakashi. Together with Hana and Tsum, they headed off to school. When they finally arrived at the academy, Naruto allowed Kakashi to hug him with only one small token groan of protest. He ran off without a backwards glance towards Sasuke, who just arrived with his father. He started to greet the boy, but froze when he caught the look of pure hatred in the man's eyes. He had never felt more terrified in his life. His lips trembled, but he was too scared to cry. His small hands fisted tight, chin tucked down, and his face became pale and bloodless. He started to shake, as did Sasuke for some reason. In a blink of an eye, Kakashi was there in front of them. Fugaku, he barked harshly, what do you think you are doing? You would dare to do that around my son, around your son? The feeling suddenly stopped as quickly as it started, causing many children in the immediate vicinity to cry, including Naruto and Sasuke. With an evil look at the Uchiha, he bent down, picked up his son, and then walked away. He urged the boy to look at him and saw his haunted eyes. They looked years too old for one so young. He rubbed the boy's back and tried to comfort him. "Daddy, I was so scared," he sobbed. I wanted to die." "I know, son. That was not from you, it was something called killing intent. It is something ninja use to scare their enemies. Sometimes when a nin is angry or upset, he or she will let it out on accident. A shinobi should never do that around children." He wiped the boy's face and nodded his head at the other crying children. "Don't feel bad, son, all the other kids are upset too." "He hates me," Naruto said quietly. "I hope he isn't mean to Sasuke 'cause of me." He suddenly looked around and saw his pale friend standing by himself. His father was nowhere to be seen. "Daddy," he whispered, "he needs me." Kakashi put his son down and they both went over to Sasuke. Naruto threw his arms around his shaking body and hugged him. The nin then picked him up and rubbed his back like he did with his own son. He talked to him gently until he was able to calm down. He set him down when he asked. Sasuke faced his best friend, lowered his eyes in shame and said, "I am sorry, Naruto. I am sorry, my father." Naruto just flung himself at Sasuke and yelled, "No, you better not. You better not apologize to me, you team. We are friends. It's not your fault." "Are you two all right now?" asked Kakashi. Both nodded, then left to see their new classroom, while the nin stalked away. He had a man to find. By the time he had located him, he was emitting his own killing intent. He stood in front of the man and demanded an explanation for his actions. "I do not need to explain anything to you, Hatake," he said icily. "Oh, I believe you do. You terrified my son, your son, and probably half a dozen other children. The Uzumaki brat is not your son. He is just a monster. He has no business being at this school with my child." "Your son, Uchiha? What, suddenly you care about him? Funny, but it didn't seem like you cared one single bit about him a few minutes ago." You frighten him, then just leave him there by himself. What kind of father are you? My son is not a monster. He is a hero who saved this village from total annihilation. Watch yourself, Hitaki. You know nothing. You too, Uchiha. I am warning you now, stay away from my son or I will obliterate you. That is a promise. Kakashi watched him leave, breathing heavily in his anger, then made his way to the Hokage Tower to pick up his new assignment. Knowing this mission would take several days to accomplish, he set out to arrange for the boy's care. Because of Fugaku, a genin would not suffice. That night, elsewhere in the village, hidden deep within the clan compound, stood a small temple used for prayer. Underneath it was a room used for a very different purpose. It was where very secretive meetings happened. Tonight was no exception. The 5 members of the clan council gathered to discuss their perceived injustices against the Uchiha. Fugaku had a plan. We haven't the strength to take the village without the aid of Root, Fugaku, so how exactly do you expect a coup d'état to be successful? Asked Inabi. A coup d'état would not be successful. That is not what I have in mind. What I propose is we kill the demon container and release the Kyuubi. He ignored their shocked gasps and continued, my son, Itachi has phenomenal skill with the Sharingan, as you all know. He will be able to take control of the demon and control it. We, the Uchiha, will have the ultimate power and take over this village. Yashiro frowned in contemplation. Well, I agree he is the most powerful Uchiha to come out of our clan since Madara, but he is young. Yakumi added, but is it not true that when the container dies, the fox spirit is released and resurrection does not happen right away? We cannot just wait around. It is possible that it will not even occur during our lifetime. What about Hitaki? He is a very powerful shinobi. He will be a very dangerous man to cross, said Tekka. Fugaku dismissed their concerns with a contemptuous wave of his hand. Hitaki is a has-been. Yes, he does have skill, but there are 5 of us here, and when I bring in Itachi and Shisui, there will be 7. Do you think so little of yourself that you think Hitaki can defeat 7 Uchiha? He is only a man, he is not immortal. We will have the element of surprise on our hands. Itachi will be able to control the Kyuubi with this jutsu. I have done considerable research. The demon will be released with it. What about the rest of the clan? You had involved everyone in the previous planned insurrection, so why not this time? Because, Inabi, we have a traitor in our midst. The group drew a collective gasp and looked at one another in alarm. Until I know who it is, we will not discuss this with anyone, not even Itachi, until I am ready to prepare him. Do you have any ideas who could be? Not as yet, but I will. I will not rest until I discover the person's identity. So as I said, until that time, we should proceed without the rest of the clan's involvement. Yakumi hesitated. What about Itachi? Are you so sure that it is wise to bring him into this? He is Umbu, which means he is the Hokage's man. Can we really trust him? Itachi is an Uchiha before Umbu, he said harshly. He knows where his true loyalties lie. One day he will be the clan head, and do not forget who got him into Umbu in the first place. He is my spy within the Hokage's office. When do we start this operation? The boy has to be of a certain size to release the Kyuubi, normally that of a 5-year-old. He is smaller than the average size, so I would say when his is around 6. Hitaki is also very vigilant around the boy yet, so it would be to our benefit to wait a little while until he relaxes his guard a bit. When the time is right, we will take out that Sharingan-stealing thief and kill the boy. Tekka smiled. It would be my pleasure to keep an eye on the little demon to monitor his growth. He hated Naruto with a passion because he blamed the child for the death of his wife. His sick mind rapidly conceived many twisted plans to torture the child. Fugaku warned, Hitaki must not get suspicious for this plan to work, Tekka. He would sense you if you get too close. I have the best chakra suppression in the whole clan. It is even better than Itachi's is. I will not be seen by Hitaki. As soon as the meeting convened, Tekka slipped away to put his plan in motion. Naruto was in his own room sleeping soundly when something woke him. It wasn't any kind of noise, just a funny feeling he had that something was watching him. He cracked his eyes open and froze in horror. Something was in his closet. The wan light from the moon peeking through his curtains gave off just enough illumination to emphasize the creature's nightmarish qualities. The glowing red eyes were the first thing he saw, then the elongated sharp teeth that sparkled in the moonlight. He saw a hand reach towards him from across the room, lumpy and misshapen with claws that could rip him to shreds. The air in his lungs seemed to wheeze out of him as he tried to fill them with enough air to scream. One gasp, he couldn't scream. Another gasp, he couldn't scream. And another, he couldn't scream. His lungs miraculously filled with air. A terrified scream echoed through the night. Within seconds, his bedroom lamp snapped on and his daddy was holding him. Blinking in the harsh light, he clung to the knee, dropping his big tough boy facade, and sobbed in fright. "I'm a monster, Daddy. There was a monster in my closet. It wanted to eat me." Naruto buried his head in Kakashi's neck and shivered in fright. It's all right. There is no such thing as a monster. Your mind tricked you." "I saw it, Daddy. There was a monster in my CL closet." Kakashi got up and opened the door wider, showing him the inside. "You see, nothing here. Just this chair with your stuffed fox on it and some clothes and—" "Naruto, what have I told you about bringing food in your room?" he asked, while picking up some moldy food. "Anyway, there is no monster in your closet." He came back to the bed and hugged the boy. "Remember, monsters are not real. Can you go back to sleep?" Naruto hung his head in humiliation and tears leaked from his eyes. "I'm wet," he whispered so quietly that the Nin barely heard him. "Just a little." Kakashi pulled the covers back and took his clothes off. "There, now you're not." He went to the boy's dresser and got a clean pair of pajamas for him. As he dressed himself, he pleaded, "Can I sleep with you tonight, Daddy?" He made the biggest, saddest kicked puppy look he could manage and added a little lip quiver for good measure. Kakashi was a goner. He picked the clingy boy up, carried him to his room, and set him on the bed. Naruto asked, "Only don't tell no one, Daddy, 'cause I'm a man now. I go to the academy and that means I'm a big boy. I'm supposed to sleep in my own bed now and I'm not supposed to pee myself." Kakashi lay down next to him, secretly happy to have the boy with him again. He was growing up fast. "Of course I won't tell anyone, it happens, don't worry about it. Just go to sleep now, pup." At school, Naruto was not having an easy time of it. His teacher did not give him any mean looks or anything, but he kept getting into trouble. He was whispering to Kiba when the instructor caught him and made him stand up in front of the class and tell everyone that he was just a baby. He burned with anger and humiliation as some of the kids laughed at him. Sasuke did not laugh and neither did Kiba. Sai never laughed, so Naruto was guessing he supported him. He watched with growing disbelief as Ino and Sakura were not reprimanded for doing the same thing. When the instructor began to ask the children questions about various subjects, Naruto remembered his manners and held his hand up. Question after question, he raised his hand in the air, proud that he knew the answers. He was practically bouncing in his seat only to have someone else chosen each time. The teacher would not even look at him. Another time, the sensei asked Kiba a question even though he did not raise his hand to answer. When Kiba suggested he ask Naruto instead, he got recessed attention for being cheeky. Naruto, feeling bad, stopped raising his hand. He figured it out pretty quick. It was just like those villagers in the market that would act as if he was not there. He vowed he would make the sensei see him. On the second day of school, Naruto and Kiba were prepared. They brought 3 snakes to school and marked them 1, 2, and 4. They released them within the halls and laughed the whole day as everyone tried to find number 3. Sai was given detention for not answering a question right. Naruto noticed that their teacher, Sensei Hideo, was giving him an odd smile when he punished Sai. He constantly criticized Naruto the whole day, saying he wasn't very bright because he didn't raise his hand, or he was a baby because he couldn't hold it until recess when he had to use the bathroom. The academy was not as much fun as he thought it would be. That night, the monster was back again. He heard the soft squeak of the door opening and thick guttural growls. He tried to tell himself that it wasn't real, but this time he stepped out of the closet. The monster's red eyes peered into his, and it licked its black pebbly lips with its forked tongue. It took 2 steps toward him. He screamed. Kakashi came and took him to his room again. He thought the boy was having nightmares because of what Fugaku had done. In the morning, when Kakashi was cleaning up Naruto's room, he noticed the chair was just outside the closet. He put it back thinking nothing of it. On the 3rd day of school, Sensei Hideo found himself superglued to his chair. He went to his office to change his pants, but could not open the door because of all the grease on the handle. Hiba got detention that day for sneezing during a lecture. Naruto didn't want to get his friends in trouble anymore and really wanted to stop, but they all refused to let him because of their hatred of the instructor. "It's worth it, Naruto," said Sasuke. "He isn't being fair to you." Hiba and Sai agreed. That night, the monster was back yet again. He made it a few more feet towards Naruto's bed. When Kakashi came in the room, he nearly tripped over the chair. "Why is this here?" he asked. The monster did it. He was not believed. On the 4th day of school, all of the drawers in the teacher's desk were nailed shut and the blackboard was coated with a light layer of grease. All of his friends determined that the boy was a certified genius. Not quite 5 yet and he was driving the teacher crazy. "How do you think these things up?" asked Sai. "My godfather gave me a book on pranks when my daddy wasn't looking and he told me to use it well if they deserved it." "You saw the book, Sasuke?" "Yeah, you're so lucky." When his daddy picked him up from school every day that week he said nothing. He did not know what to say. He was talking in class and he was not supposed to. It was against the rules. The instructor never did anything outright mean to him, just his friends. He began to dislike school, but he loved recess with his friends. It was the only time he was truly happy. There were quite a few kids at the academy who tried to be mean to Naruto. They would call him names and try to pick on him, but his friends always stood by him. One day, he found Sai beating up a boy who had tried to punch him when his back was turned. Naruto pulled him off the boy and said, "Be nice, Sai. He is not the enemy. Its enemy in showing mercy is for the weak and could get you killed," said Sai calmly. "He is not the Inuzukas, the bad guy. He's just stupid. Don't get in trouble for me, Sai." That night, he sadly watched Kakashi pack for his mission. "Do you have to go, Daddy? I will miss you so much. I wanted to bring you in for show and tell." "What's this, Naruto? You have never been upset when I left on missions before." "Is everything all right at school?" asked Kakashi concerned. "It's okay, I will just miss you is all. It would have been so cool for you to come see my class. I told everyone that you are the best ninja in a whole world, but they don't believe me." He scoffed, "Most of their parents are only Chunin too and you were Umbu. Remember, you are not supposed to tell anyone about that. When I get back, I will come to your class. You will be staying with Tsum, Hana, and Kiba while I am away, so everything will be fine. You will be sleeping with Kiba in his room, so you do not need to be afraid of monsters, okay? Go and finish your homework now so we can eat dinner." Naruto grudgingly went to the desk in his room and began his studies. The hairs on the back of his neck began to prickle. Feeling anxious for some reason, he looked out his window and saw the monster in the tree outside. He opened his mouth to scream, but it disappeared. He felt foolish for imagining things, so he said nothing. He did not want his daddy to think he was being a baby. The next morning, they got up a little earlier than usual to bring his things to Kiba's house. The little Inuzuka came bursting out of the house with exciting news for everyone. One of their hounds just had puppies and he was getting one as soon as it was weaned. Kiba pulled him into the building where the puppies were and showed him which one would be his. His name is Akamaru, he said proudly. Naruto squatted down to get a closer look, then curiously asked, "How can you tell it's a boy?" Kiba scratched his head, then said, "My mom picked the up and looked underneath. I think it's printed on the bottom somewhere." "Oh, I didn't know that." "Well, come on, we gotta go to school. I brought something special for our teacher for making me tell everyone that I was a baby." He opened his bag a little to show Kiba. At his impressed look he said, "I'm gonna need your help." "Oh yeah," grinned Kiba, rubbing his hands together. "That will teach him to be nicer to you. Have you told your dad yet about how he treats you?" "Ishish, he is right there," he said, nodding his head towards Kakashi. "I don't want to tell him 'cause remember what happened at that playground last time?" "Oh yeah, poor guy." Naruto put his fists on his hips, affronted. "You mean poor squirrel? That guy was real mean. He threw a rock at my head and called me names." Kiba laughed. "Hey, do you think he ever got out?" "I sure hope so," said Naruto. "On the other hand, people sure were nice to him for a long time. I heard he had to go to the hospital to get it out." Both boys gave a shudder as they remembered the famous squirrel incident. "Your dad is so awesome. He should make that a jutsu." "He did, he calls it 1,000 years of pain, squirrel style." He laughed, "I think my daddy has a thing for squirrels. Did I tell you about the time I was camping with Sasuke? I know now that squirrels can't fly," he said with a snigger. They raced each other to school. As Naruto gave Kakashi a hug goodbye, he reminded him, "Be safe, daddy, and bring me a new ninja figure if you can." He watched him leave until he was no longer in sight, then slowly entered the academy. One of the mean boys in class tried to trip him and a girl held her nose and claimed he stank. He ignored them and sat between his friends. Sasuke muttered, "You know we can beat them up for you." "Yeah," said Kiba, "those jerks deserve it." Naruto smiled happily at his friends. "Nah, your mom would kick your butt if you got in trouble, Kiba. And besides, it's not their fault for being that way, their mama and daddy taught 'em that, so I feel sorry for them 'cause they can't think for themselves. And Sasuke, you dad would go crazy on you for fightin' in school." "At least he would notice me," thought Sasuke. At recess, Sasuke determined that he was never going to be a nice instructor and said they needed to do something real big about it. Kiba, Sasuke, Sai and Naruto sat together in the corner of the playground plotting when Naruto felt a pricking at the back of his neck. He knew that feeling very well. Someone was watching him again. He looked everywhere surreptitiously and saw nothing. He looked up in the trees when he caught movement out of the corner of his eye. Someone was watching him, he was right. Sasuke asked him what was the matter when he did not respond, and Naruto whispered, "There is somebody in a tree watching me." "I don't know Sasuke, but I think this is scary. This is not like when my daddy has Umbu watch me. I think he was watching me through my window yesterday." Sai said, "Well, whoever it was is gone now. Describe him for me, and I will draw him. We can show it to my father, Buttercup." Naruto rolled his eyes at the stupid new nickname. Kiba was impressed. "Wow, Sai, you sure are smart." "Yes, I am, crotch sniffer." Kiba shot him an exasperated look at his new name. "I'm not a dog," he muttered. "Are you finished yet?" said the very annoyed Sasuke. "This is serious, you too. I don't like this at all." "Yes, I am done now, chicken butt." Naruto and Kiba grabbed Sasuke when he lunged at Sai, then Naruto said, "I haven't seen his face." He's wearing some sorta monster mask. It is ugly and scary. It's probably nothin' and anyways I wanna plan our trick, he said after pulling out some magazines and some glue. He was afraid if he described the monster, his friends would think he was just having nightmares and that he was being a crybaby. So, who's gonna help me glue some pictures in a workbooks? After lunch was Naruto's least favorite subject, math. The instructor had them pull out their books. Within seconds, every boy in the class was giggling and the girls were all gasping. Sensei Hideo opened his own book only to see pages of a nudie magazine glued in the textbook. He was not happy. He knew Naruto was involved, but he had no proof, so he yelled at the whole class, then made them run laps outside. The boys shared a secret look of pleasure as they ran, at least they were not doing math. Spending the night with Kiba was a very interesting thing to say the least. The Inuzuka family had a very loud and unpredictable home life compared to his. During dinner, everyone talked over the others to be heard while dogs weaved in and out under their feet. Naruto loved it. That night after the boys changed for bed, Naruto, taken aback after he saw Kiba's ripped and holy pajamas, asked, "Hey Kiba, why are you wearing that?" Kiba just grinned and said, "I got lots of dogs here." In the morning, neither boy wanted to get out of bed since they stayed up late talking and laughing with each other. When Sum came in to wake them, they rolled over and went back to sleep. She tried twice more. Suddenly Naruto heard a thundering noise, the sound of massive creatures pounding and thumping up the stairs. The door flung open as a pack of dogs raced into the room. Wet slimy tongues rasped across the boy's face, coating him in smelly drool. His hair stuck up on all ends in it. Another dog grabbed his pajama bottoms and proceeded to drag him out of bed. With a thump, he landed on the floor. Wide-eyed he looked for Kiba, who was already being dragged out of the door. "Ow, bad dog, thump, ow, stop it, thump thump. Mom, call em off, thump thump thump, I'm up already, geez, thump thump thump, moem." With a suddenness that was not expected, Naruto was also dragged down the stairs. He tried to grasp onto something, but there wasn't anything around. "Ouch, stop it, thump down a stair, ow, bad doggy, thump thump thump, Kiba help me to thump thump thump. I got a kunai and I'm not afraid to use it, thump thump thump, ow, thump, your thump, eso thump, daddy thump, Kiba." Soon both boys were lying at the bottom of the stairs trying to control their racing hearts. Naruto looked at the bottom of his pajama bottoms, which now had holes in them. "You know, I think I like the way my daddy wakes me up better, Kiba." He wiped the dog's slobber from his face, "and I really like the way his pack wake me up better too. They only poke me with cold noses," he said grumpily. "I don't think I like you doggies at all." He sat up and rubbed his head tenderly. "Nope, not at all." Kiba just rolled over and grinned at Naruto's stiff hair. "I guess I shoulda warned ya, huh? Well, we're up now. Come on, my mom makes real good food for breakfast." Naruto glared at the hounds now lying peacefully around and muttered, "Very bad doggies," before following Kiba into the kitchen. That day at school was the big test to see what they had learned that week. Naruto studied long and hard. He wanted to show Sensei Hideo what he knew. He was able to answer each and every question with ease and was the first one finished. He sent a smirk at Sasuke, since he was always saying that he was the best student in class. After lunch, the instructor announced to the class that Sasuke, Kiba, and Sai, who sat in front of Naruto, had detention because they let Naruto cheat off them. Despite their protests, he enforced his punishment. He made Naruto sit outside the classroom while he taught them the shinobi rules. During the next recess, when they were serving their punishment, some kids surrounded him. "My father says that you are nothing but an evil little monster." He punched Naruto in the chest. Another boy said, "So does mine. He said you should have been killed when you were born." He kicked Naruto. "Where are your friends at now, cheater?" said another from behind. They began to push and hit him some more. Naruto noticed that all the instructors seemed to be absent during this time, even though there were several standing around minutes ago. A few of the other children began to hit him too and knocked him to the ground. Naruto rolled away, then stood up proudly and sneered, "I'm not scared of you. You all hit like little girls." He began to fight back, but the instructors who were nowhere to be found earlier were suddenly there. They stopped the fight and sent him to the other side of the playground. As he sat on the swing by himself, sniffing and crying, he felt the prickles again. He looked around and saw a strange man standing by the fence staring at him. He had a mean look about him. Something wasn't right about him. Naruto watched him look around carefully, then flicker away an instant later. He felt a heavy hand land on his shoulder. Letting out a small squeak of fright, he turned his head.
Alright, guys, that is going to be part 11 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by Kakashi. I hope you guys enjoyed this part, and if you did, like, subscribe, tell me what you liked about it in the comments. As always, I don't own this. This is owned by another fanfiction creator. And if you enjoyed, as I said earlier, like, subscribe, comment, and that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next part. Bye.